their foremost conditions is that this is a no smoking zone. Yeah, the whole school is a no smoking zone. So please be mindful of that. We're very grateful for them for affording us the opportunity to host this evening. Also because Gershon was a member of this club. And we were privileged to have him here. It's something that we want to create a culture of honoring our own people in our own communities who have made a difference and an impact. So this is a start of pushing that agenda, that in every opportunity we get, we need to invest and show honor to the people who has done such a lot in our own local communities. And we're starting this evening with Gershon. Gershon's mother is here, and I think it's one of the reasons why we postponed it and pushed the date out, because we wanted to have it at a comfortable date for the family, especially for his mom, to honor her as well in his absence. So if his mother could just stand up so that everybody could see, that is Gershon's mom, Mrs. Rorich, a community worker. Thank you. I believe the record states that at one time she was a ward councillor, and so it makes sense that your son would do so much for the community. We are privileged for that. We're going to start by singing the national anthem. So there's a national flag there, there's a provincial flag, and here is the club that he belonged to, Christel House Volleyball Club. We want that theme to run throughout, and we want to start at the highest note. And because he represented South Africa, another thing that we want to make as part of our normal culture is to be proud of our country and their achievements. And there's no better way to start that than to start these proceedings by singing the national anthem. To help all of us, we've asked Tracy Carter to come in and lead us to sing as we stand, to sing our national anthem. It is something that Gershon was privileged to experience on many occasions, because he represented me and you and millions of South Africans whenever he played for the country. So let us start off by singing our national anthem. Also, I must say that Gershon's loss is a sad loss, and we probably are going to, over the years or time, not feel the impact as much as those who were closer to him. But the purpose of tonight is to celebrate the good things that he had done. It's to remind his mother of the impact that he made in the life journey that he had amongst all of us that has been here. So we want you to be mindful as well that we want an atmosphere where we can be happy and reminisce about the good things and the marvelous achievements that he had. So thank you. We'll give over to Tracy, Ms. Carter.
Leli Africa, malupakani supondolwaya, izwahimintana zoyetu, kosi sikalela tina lusaponwayo. Morena buluka si chama sa Yesu, ofedi sedi tuale machuene. Oh, si buluke si chama sa Yesu, si chama sa South Africa, South Africa. Edi blow fan on saima, edi hier. Oor ons ewige bertes, waar die kranse antwoord hier. Sounds the call to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
Thank you, Tracy. You may be seated, everybody. So, just to give you a bit of a visual idea of what we're also doing, to my right here, let me walk over here so that you can have a look, is a vase. And over here we've got some sand. So Gershon spent a huge part of his life on sand. And when he was on sand, he was giving to other people, to young people, to the community, to provincial players, to national players. He spent a lot of time giving on the sand. So what we would like to do is for everybody who's going to pay a tribute, that once you've done your tribute, we want you to come over here and we want you to take off this sand, here's a little holder here, and deposit it in here. Yeah? And when we're honoring him, we want to show that we are going to give back to all the years that he sacrificed on the sand for volleyball. Do we get that picture? And what we would like to do at the end of this is we want to present this with all our good wishes. We want to present it to his mother so that she can have something there from the volleyball community where we have tried to give back what her son had given to us and the greater volleyball community. Okay, cool, so we got that. So our program is, we've got quite a program, but we'll start at the top. So because of his influence and the stature that he had and the heights that he reached in his professional sport, we would like to start paying tribute from the professional body, and that is FIVB. A statement was put out, and we're going to ask our Vice President, who is in her own rights a renowned player and coach. We've been very blessed in the Western Cape to have the caliber of Gershon and the caliber of Khadija to train, to develop, and to be involved, especially in the beach code. So we're going to ask Khadija to come and read that statement on behalf of FIVB, and also to give a little bit of experience and tribute to Gershon. Thank you, Khadi. And when you are done, if you can just...
Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Just give us a minute. We just need to organize ourselves. 1 second. Okay, so now it's on a phone and it's very small. So this is from the FIVB and the CAVB. Dear friends and colleagues, it is with a heavy heart that I announce the passing of Mr. Gershon Rorich of South Africa. Death has robbed the African and world volleyball family of a great man who distinguished himself as a player, a coach, and an administrator. Gershon had an illustrious career spanning over 3 decades. He captained one of the most successful South African men's beach volleyball teams, which were one of the continental powerhouses. He was also one of the pioneers of African beach volleyball, and the story of the success of African beach volleyball cannot be written without mentioning his name. He represented South Africa at the 2004 Athens Olympic Games. Gershon was also a tactician and a mentor who groomed many athletes, past and present, and was always ready to share his knowledge and experience. Mr. Rorich also served as a member of the CAVB Beach Volleyball Commission and supervised several African beach volleyball competitions and helped many African national federations in setting up their beach volleyball systems. On behalf of the CAVB board, staff, and the entire African volleyball family, I would like to extend my heartfelt condolences to his family. Our thoughts and prayers are with them in this time of grief, and we stand by them in these difficult times. May his dearly departed soul rest in peace. So that's from the CAVB, a really nice tribute. The FIVB also put out a statement where they detailed a lot of his accomplishments that we may not have on record the way that they have, and that was also a very lovely tribute. So when I met Gersh, we were both young, 16 years old. We were playing in the SA schools team. He still had to grow into his ears and feet at that time. But it was really so good at that time. We never stayed in hotels back then when we were playing at schools, and we used to be hosted by the local communities. The parents would come and they would take us into their homes. The first year, Gersh was hosted by a family not far from me. And of course, we were young and we had curfews. We weren't allowed out, and parents were very strict. But Gersh would climb through the window and come and visit, and we'd sit on the porch and talk until the early hours of the morning. And then he'd go back. And we became really good friends, and never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I would be standing here and giving an account of our friendship. After school, we played in our very first unified SA team, you know, after the sanctions were lifted. We were still kids. We were the youngest in the team. And we traveled the country. We went to many tournaments together. And although we weren't the kind of friends that hung out on weekends together or called each other often, but when we got together, we'd always spend a good few hours just catching up, even if it was at a tournament, watching a game. And I'd say, like, how are things going? Be like, I'm really good. Wow, that's a good shot. And how are you? I'm okay. Oh, why did you do that? And so we'd chat in between watching the games, and for hours we'd just catch up about life, volleyball, family, work, relationships. You know, I never really saw him as a legend. He was just Gersh. We played in the national team for years, and we get special awards, and it was just normal, you know. He'd go up, collect it, walk past, I'd slap his hand. We were so used to that. It was nothing special, really, anymore. He wasn't this great big player to me. He was just my friend. He went on to play beach volleyball, and whilst he was achieving great things when we got together, it was just like, so I was Athens, you know, biggest accomplishment in his life. But we were so used to him being accomplished. And he'd give me the rundown, and in indoor I was starting to cover up quite a bit as a Muslim, and I was starting to get a really hard time from BSA. And he was already running the beach tournaments at the time, and he said, why don't you play beach? You're such a good player. I said, I don't want to play in a bikini, you know, I want to cover up. He said, just come, you know, and you can play covered up. And it was the first time that I was allowed to play, and he would just let me, you know. The girls would play in sports bras, and he would get me a t-shirt of the sponsors that I could wear. And sometimes games would be scheduled on a Friday afternoon during our mosque time, and I'd say, gosh, you can't do that. He's like, don't worry, I got you. You know, we'd switch our games around. And I was always grateful to him for that because I had to stop playing indoor because of the attire. And so I just ended up playing more beach. We enjoyed a friendship that spanned some 30 odd years. But my most special time with him were these last few years. He moved back to Cape Town a while ago, and I was happy to be able to spend some time with him. He'd gone quiet for a while, and I wanted to catch up. And he called me up and he said, they're going to call you up to the national team to coach the beach team. I said, no, man, you're joking. He said, and don't you dare say no. I said, but why? He said, because it's time and you were the right person for the job. After I got the call, my first call was to Gersh. When all my anxiety came rushing to the fore, he said, you're a good coach, you got this, and I've got you. I'm on my way over. And he asked me what my angst was about, and I said I'd always watched men's beach volleyball, but for the enjoyment, not with a purpose. And he said to me, well, if you could change anything about the system, if you had the power to do this your way, what would it look like? And I spent the rest of the evening laying out my dream plan, my imaginary high-performance program, and he just listened and said, then that's what you should do. How can I help you? What do you need from me? And we put on a men's match, beach volleyball match. And I said to him, Gersh, what am I looking at here? What am I looking for? And from that moment, for the first time in many, many years, I had the privilege of entering the mind of this amazing volleyballer. He'd tell me where to look, what to look for, and we went through tapes and videos of players. His knowledge and insight blew my mind, and I learned a ton from him. We also spent a lot of time reminiscing about our great playing days, some stories over and over and over again. And he spent most days at my house during COVID, opening my pots, looking in my fridge, and asking me to please make him some of my very mediocre soup. He loved it, I don't know why. I appreciate how he included me in our great playing days when we used to reminisce about how good we were. He'd say, Khadi, when we played, we were so good, we used to do this and that in our younger days. And we used to do this so well. These players of today, they have no idea. But I knew that I was never as good a player as he was, even at my best. He was in a league of his own. Whilst I was coaching the national team, sometimes I'd call him up and say, Gersh, what do you think about this? What do I do about that? And he'd say, it's your show now. Go with your gut. You've got this. He was my booster, and I loved him for it. I saw him about 2 weeks before he passed, and we had one of our very long catch-up sessions. And I said to him, Gersh, you don't look well, my friend. He said, Khadi, I got this, don't worry. And later that day when I got home, I got the last message I will ever receive from Gersh. He said, it was lovely seeing you today. You always make me smile. Love you lots. I replied with just a heart, but I wish I had told him how much he meant to me. So I hope that he hears me today when I say in front of everyone, I love you, my friend, and I'm going to miss you dearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Khadi. I know people who are passionate about a lot of things, and generally, if you're passionate about something, you talk. I think the last time we had a game, I spent about an hour talking to him, and Khadi also spent about an hour talking to him. He was so passionate and so excited about what he still wanted to do this year for volleyball. One of the things that I particularly liked about him was that it would always go about what can he do with the youngsters. That really caught my eye about his plans. It was always central to the youngsters. As a matter of fact, in that last game that we played, I was fortunate that I played with him in his last game on the court. Tristan, who is at the back there, shared the court with us that day. And when we were done, I went over to go watch the ladies. I think Ocean View was playing Saints at that point. And so I went over that way. As soon as we did the huddle and we were done, he called the youngsters and he said, let me show you. And about a half an hour later, when the game finished that side, he was still busy after we played. I went to him, I said, Gersh, aren't you moeg? And he says, this is what excites me. This is what I like to do. And I went back over, and later on, I only realized, okay, the youngsters must be tired now because they started to walk away, and he was still busy with one of them at least. It's that type of character that we hope that even the young people that are here must pick up. And you who are blessed to be exposed to it must remember and try to practice the same. So we're going to continue now. I think Sholto had a break now. He rushed directly from work, so he caught his breath now. We're going to ask Sholto to give a kind of timeline. The family requested, and Adrian is not available, and they said, okay, they will want Sholto then to give just a brief timeline about some of his achievements and where he was, where he made an impact, and some of his personal interactions with him, which also dates back, I think, to high school, somewhere around there. So we're gonna call Sholto up now. Thank you very much, Sholto, for also being the go-to with the family, and interacting and helping us with our planning. Thanks. Stand close here.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Once again, Jenny, Delisha, Lindsay, and the extended family members, thank you for your time and through this difficult period. So, firstly, I'm going to start off with a note from Jenny, Gershon's wife. Jennifer Ann, as she nicely reminded me, but we all refer to her as Auntie Jenny. Gershon was born at Grooteskier to Jennifer on the 23rd of October, 1973. He was the elder of two boys, namely Mark, and I'll get to Mark a little bit later on, who passed on 6 years ago. So also understand that for Jennifer to lose both her sons, it's well, nothing less of traumatic. Then he grew up in Claremont until 6 years old. Then he moved to Strandfontein and he went to York Road. And that's where I met Gershon, because I was next door. He would often remind me I was at the B grade school next door called Porsche. So I was very proud of Porsche. And we would, I said this at the funeral as well, there was a fence between us, and your boys, throw stones across a fence, I don't think that would be allowed today. But, and then from there he went to Livingston, where I joined him there at Livingston High as well, where there's a few guys here from, Heathfield, Steenberg, and all the lesser volleyball schools that we kick the, I'm joking guys, I've got the mic so I can say it now. And then of course he matriculated, and then he lived with his granny for most of his young life, and then of course he met Delisha Sharnik. I never knew that's your surname, so I know today. 18 years ago, and had a beautiful daughter 2 years later named, what's your second name? Lindsay Amber. I had no idea that was your second name. And of course Lindsay is now 16 years old, and Gershon used to often remind me 16 years old, but she's got a mouth of a well-experienced female. So that was, I'm going to talk about a few things, but number one is, you spoke about Gershon giving a lot on the sand. We gave him a lot of points. So we volunteered a lot of points to Gershon throughout his career, probably me more than most. And then also, Khadija, I wasn't going to talk about this, but I knew you were appointed because I'll share this now. And he called me and he can come pop over and he said, that girl. I could probably speak for days about how he revered you and such high esteem of. He spoke to me about your challenges. He spoke to me about your obstacles that you had overcome. He said, we need to back that girl. We need to back her, and I will back her, and I will be there for her. So he was so proud of your achievement and personally of what you could do. And then on top of it, the players that you were sort of, you were handed, and then from there you started to select, and some of them are here. So he really had you back on many occasions. And that being said, he spoke about many people in volleyball, actually a lot of people, and there was never a negative word. even for his greatest opponents that he could learn from. He would actually sit and he would stop and think, okay, the guy beat me with that shot, or I wasn't ready for that. It took me unannounced. Firstly, he acknowledged the skill of a player, and then quickly in his mind, he'd go, okay, now how do I step up? And he was continuously trying to better himself as an athlete and as a professional, and ultimately, particularly through his later years, as a person, as a human being. So in terms of his accolades, in primary school, he was a demon at all sports, really. Particularly on the soccer field, volleyball. It was introduced to us at a very young age, but it wasn't really a game. It was just, here's a ball over the net, do what you want. And in high school at Livingston, thank goodness Livingston, Steenberg, East Hill, South Peninsula, Harold Cressy, Trafalgar, I can go on. These schools were embedded with a volleyball culture. And from there, the older players jumped in and taught you, and that's how you how you grew in the sport. And then, Khadija took over to what Khadija said. It was first Sasa, and then after that, first Avasa, first Sasa, then Avasa, and then, and then we moved on to the unification. And there's a lot of people here that will talk or have much more experience and knowledge about his professional career, because I wasn't part of that. I stepped away from the professional side of sport and became more of a hobby. And, he really took it. I mean, he was our best player. Arguably, at the time, the best player in Africa, on the continent, which is a massive achievement. And then, of course, in school, it wasn't just about volleyball. If it rained, he'd go inside and go play table tennis. If it was winter, if it no volleyball, he'd go play tennis or cricket. Or he was just a gifted, natural athlete. In his latter years, I spoke about. We spent a lot of time together, almost daily, and we joined the neighborhood watch. I said this at the funeral as well. And we'd go every day, literally every day, go look for a new toy, a gadget, a taser, a torch, a baton, all of these. We were armed, really. It's bulletproof vest. No, we had it all. I've actually still got it. I don't know why we got it. I don't know why we bought it. It was never in use. I mean, I've said this. I don't know what would happen if we actually had to use it, or were confronted with somebody who threatened us. I don't know. And we took pride in. We went for our police clearance, our fingerprints, we go through the whole process. And that time curfews was around 10, 11 o'clock. And we would drive at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the only car on the road, and he'd say, Shotto, drive on the M5, we see if there's any police going to chase us. We had this belief that because we're on the road at 11 o'clock, someone's going to come lock us up. And we would drive, but we had the permits, but it was in a specific area and circumference. And lo and behold, no police on the road. So we don't want to be disappointed that we weren't able to drive away from the police, but we, dominoes, cards, so it became more of a human nature. It became more of a, how do we make up for lost time? And that's probably the strongest message that I have today, is that it's a very cliche statement, but there's no time like the present is actually very accurate. And it's sad that we fully understand and realize this to our latter years, all of us here, youngsters, we can tell you now, hopefully you take it forward with you, that make the most of the present time, because it's not going to come again. And when the time is up, it's really up for some of us, and we can't turn back the clock, and we can't fix what was broken, but we can fix what's broken today while we're here. And I say Opie here in Pierre, I remember those days, Opie were in Livingston, and Pierre was at Steenberg, and Pierre was just a geitje at school, in a good way, Pierre. I'm talking about, he's a guy that, the ball would be on the other side of the net, and Pierre would get so frustrated, he would jump, and he'd put his hands on the other side of the net to stop the ball in muddy, which was highly illegal, because you could only do that on the third or the attack. And Pierre, this guy was, anyway, that was his geitjeness in school. He was just frustrated, and he'd take the game at the scruff and he'd try to win it all by himself. Steenberg High School, eh? I remember those days. But that being said, I'm going to close up now. I actually walked away from volleyball probably about 3-4 years ago. To say, I'm done with this now. And he told me, let's do one more tournament together. And the plan was, the first, so we heard, there's masters, there's provincial, there's juniors, there's beach, there's indoor. And he just said, let's forget about the politics. He just screw it. Let's put everything under one roof. And I said, and the plan for that, I spoke to Peter about this already, and Delisha, I spoke to Delisha about this very briefly to the Saints guys when I'm trying to train with them again. And it's going to happen. We're going to take, and we wanted, there's a lounge for everybody over the age of 50, probably 80% of this room right now. That will be a specific spot where you can just come, you park up, there's food, there's drinks, cool drinks, and it will be afterwards maybe, but on the day, cool drinks, and it will be a special place for the people who lived in yesteryear to reminisce, to catch up. And that was his plan, to catch up. And it's too late now. He's not with us, but it's not too late for the rest of us. And that tournament, I promise you, is going to happen. It's going to be an indoor and beach, young and old, masters or provincial, it doesn't matter. It's all under one banner of volleyball. And we've got endorsement from Western Province. We've got endorsement from a few people already. So watch the space. We're going to do it. It is going to happen. It will be the one of the kind. It will be the biggest. We're going to make it the biggest in the country. A bigger prize purse than the VSA watching. You know, a bigger prize purse in terms of financial reward for teams. You know, we're going to mud it on the rugby sevens format, and it's going to happen. So watch the space. We're still working on the female bit, so you know we'll pull you in, but it's going to happen, and it will be his tournament. So you know, it's in honor of Gershon. It will be something that we wanted to do. And when I say we, it wasn't about me and him. It's about he spoke about all the people in this room. We need that one. We need this one. It's not. It was, but he was the center and the driver of it. So we owe it to him to actually finish his thought process. And if I'm going to call on a few of you to assist, but anyway. So yeah, Peter, that's about me. It's I can go on for a long time about what a great man he is or was. I'm still upset with him for not sharing. So that I need to get over. But you know, guys, I said this at the funeral. A problem shared is a problem halved. And Gershon was that guy to hold back, to hold his problems that he didn't want to share and be a burden, and that is just the biggest load of rubbish. It's we are a small community, and we can't lean on each other and support each other. Who is there to lean on and support? So that's my end of preaching a bit at the end. Thanks, Peter. Yeah.
Sam. Thank you, Sholto. So we're coming down the ranks. So before we get to him as a player in that, we're going to ask AB to come up. AB's got a tribute for somebody that was also a mentor and a coach to Gershon. And AB was nominated and requested to do that on his behalf. Here you go.
Thank you, Peter. I think I'm just going to start at the beginning. You know, many of you will know that when Gersh was at the Livingston, there was this rivalry between Livingston and SP and Heathfield. And once we were planning to have this massive triangular between the three big schools, and then I think it was St. Owens that came to spoil the party. And we wanted to keep it quiet, man, just so that the three of us could play a liquor game. And I remember we played it at SP in the quad. We were trying to hide it away from everybody. But then Gus had just started playing grade, I think it was grade 8, standard 8, no? And I think myself and Marcel were in that team. And this was like a team that's skrik for niks. It was the Owens that were saying, we're going to be the next round of Springboks. We had earmarked ourselves to say, listen, we're going to go to the top of volleyball in South Africa. We made a promise to ourselves that we were going to train hard, we were going to work exceptionally off-sea, nobody would see us, and we would play top volleyball in secret. And then we would build each other up. Eventually, so that we could make the national team. And it was quite funny that, you know, in 1993, we realized that together. It was myself and Marcel and Gersh. We were in that first national team to ever leave the coast of South Africa, even before unification in 1990, or before our democracy in 1994. We were together, and I want, it's like one story that we were, you know, you talk about Gershon, you always think of him as being all control and everything, but he was like a stokeman. So we went to this, to Algeria, and they were involved in some sort of a civil war there, whatever was going on. So we come to the airport, and then Gershon said, hey, what's going on? Because this Toyota Land Cruiser pulls up with a machine gun on the side, and we in the bus, a small little bus, 18-seater bus, and we were getting so excited because we didn't want to sit down, so we sat on top of the seats, and we like watched. Now everybody gave way because there was this Land Cruiser with a machine gun in front of us and one at the back of us, and we were the South African team for the first time going to this place, and we all like excited, and we're saying, hey, this is like riding in the Nova Park and checking the Owens, and the cars just move out the way. But yeah, I just probably epitomizes, you know, the kind of work ethic that Gersh had. And I mean, we had earmarked that when we were at school already, just to think that, you know, there's always possibilities. We had so much hope. We had amazing hope, not only for our sport, but for ourselves, from where we were coming from, you know, our backgrounds. We were poor. We used to ride to school on bicycles and sometimes walk home. I remember playing a game against Panthers at Retreat Civic. I didn't have a lift, and we actually walked home from Retreat Civic in the middle of the night. The game ended at 12 o'clock. It was like a massive rally game there. At the time we still played. You can only win a point on your serve. You know, it didn't have rally point there. The game used to go to like 3.5 hours, and the caretaker used to switch the lights off to say, "You're not used to gaan." But traveled quite a lot of paths with Gershon when he was in the national setup along with us. But before I read it, there was just one other thing I wanted to mention, man. I don't know if Pierre was involved in that. We were all assembled in PE. Pierre, you weren't there. Okay. So remember, Cape Town was going to host the Olympics, no? Right. So we all get called up to go to this thing called Operation Excellence, sponsored by Pick and Pay, and we get called to go to PE. So, talk about Gechina. We in PE, we at the University of Port Elizabeth. It's like in a natural reserve thing, and there's a long road that you must travel to get to a gate. And we finished our first session. The coaches, I don't know who the coach was. I think it was Science and Medic or somebody. Yeah. And he told us, boys, you know, young men, you must prepare. We're going to have the Olympics here and everything. And when we finish training, we must go to bed. Okay. We said, nah, wait till everybody's sleeping. We climbed down 3 stories because it was girl said, come Owens, I'll organize. It was always this thing, organized. We climbed down 3 stories, balconies, 4 of us. Next thing we're walking through the reserve, we come to the front gate. Before you know it, there's a call waiting for us. And Gershon must be, you must know, from Ottery. And to got us at 3 o'clock, we come back. And I remember still Gershon getting caught, hung up on the 3rd balcony because we were like a tipsy. And we had to go to, but it was so much fun playing in that time. And it was really, really fun that unfortunately we didn't get the Olympics, but that would have been a really great experience if we had hosted the Olympics in our own country. We would have automatically qualified and we would have been on the international stage at that time. And we still believe, And his belief was always, we always undersell ourselves as South Africans. We actually are good. We are very good at volleyball. We mustn't sell ourselves when we watch TV and say, check the Zord season, all the Owens playing there on TV and they're better than us. He always believed that if he had the opportunity to prove it, he would show everybody that South Africans can play volleyball, which he did. So this comes from Gary Gabriel's condolences to Lindsay, the Leash and the family. And he starts out with, I think Lance and him will probably say, yeah, too black, too strong. Too black, too strong. Symbolism of profound. The journey begins. The team Black Panthers Volleyball Club. The history resonates. The earth shudders. Your passing Gershon encounters with you, start with you on the other side of the net. The new kid in the block, in black and white. Gershon, you and your volleyball path grew to be a stalwart in the indoor and the beach volleyball arena of the world, and provided many with hope, in particular for a better volleyball for all. We traversed common ground with volleyball at the heart. From 1993, places like Algeria, when the first South African national volleyball team traveled abroad, Egypt, Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, know your footprints. And they know the sound from your characteristic vocal cords. Your volleyball teachings, learnings, and leadership by example is captured in determination, perseverance, discipline, passion, and purpose. This approach permeates throughout what you did. Where you represented the nation, excellence was a requirement and not an accomplishment amidst the struggle, the sport struggle. For the All Africa Games in 1999 in South Africa, I recall us engaging which team to play first. We chose the best team at the time, Ghana. And you helped to execute the on-court tactical requirements South Africa achieved the best result at the time in this competition. We were on the road from Cape to Cairo. Beach volleyball became an Olympic sport in Atlanta in 1996. South Africa hosted the first Olympic qualification in Cape Town. This provided a parallel universe for your talent, right in the heart of the waterfront. Where oil used to be stored, became your oasis, Table Mountain in the backdrop. It still remains an iconic, historic occasion, an event for South African volleyball. When you were there, Gershon, in executing part of the cog of excellence personified. The heart and the center of the waterfront, Camps Bay, Fourth Beach, Muizenberg, and many other beaches also know the rhythm of your footsteps and movement as you mesmerize communities in action and hope. You are indeed a talent to behold. The 2004 Athens Olympic Games will indeed be etched in my mind for many reasons. But one element stands out, that smile when you came out for your first on-court training session and realized that I formed part of the organization structure. It was indeed a momentous occasion as you contributed to the South African flag enjoying the freedom in the main arena of qualifying nations for beach volleyball. The cauldron of high-level beach volleyball did not distort your determination. As you provided grit and grind and glide and digging deep to keep the South African flag flying. The 9th position in final standing is indeed an honor, an example of accomplishment, and something we hope all South Africans will aspire to achieve one day. You are saluted, Gershon, and thanks for many lessons and contributions you provided to us. hope we have learned the lesson. Thanks always, Gary Gabriels. Thank you.
Thank you, AB. Once again, it's another name that we need to honor, and another name that I told the executive that moving forward, that we must make an effort to honor our people while they are with us. It's something that we must strive for. So thank you very much, AB. That's AB, and on behalf of Gary Gabriels as well. So now we're going to come down to some of the people that he played with. And so Panthers have identified somebody who is going to speak on their behalf, one of the clubs that he played for, where he became much more famous at the time. So Panthers is going to have an opportunity. Then we're going to ask Jerome as well, somebody who shared a court with him, and Clint. These were the guys who know what it is to share a court, to be closer to him, to try to be in sync, to understand what it is to be competitive. So, Lance? Okay. Marcel?
Evening, everyone. So, the first time I met Gersh was actually not in volleyball. The first time I met Gersh was at the tennis courts in Dieperba, Eastfield. And it just goes to show the caliber of the man. We've heard about soccer, tennis, we've heard about volleyball, cricket. You have a fantastic son, husband, father, right? I then got to meet Gersh at SB. And for the young people, just to give you an idea of how we used to play volleyball. We never had setters. Our courts were tar, on the road. That's how we played, that's how we learned, with no knee pads. We never had setters, so we used to bounce the ball. When it comes up, we spike it. That's how we grew up, right? Gersh, I then became a teammate for at Black Panthers. At Black Panthers, just to give you an idea, I think 90% of the first team represented South Africa for something, whether it was the senior team, the student team. So to get into that team, you needed to be good, right? Gersh fitted right in. There were no issues. He just joined and started taking control, right? He was a valued member of it. He was my teammate at Panthers. He was my teammate at Western Province. He was my teammate in South Africa. So we heard a lot about the flag. Next year will be 30 years since we became South Africa as we know it today. That was 1994. We went abroad for the first tour, as AB said, in 1993 to Algeria. What a lot of people don't know is that at that tour, we never had a national flag. So they couldn't put up the old flag, they couldn't play the stem, we never had the national flag. So what did they do? They put up a white flag. No nationality. For the national anthem, there was silence. Silence. Just imagine you're representing 40 million people and there's no acknowledgement about who you are, where you're from. That was our first tour. And for Gersh, he saw that white flag as a white page. Because from that day, he excelled in whatever he did at volleyball, whether it was the national team, beach volleyball, a player, a coach. He did exactly what he wanted to. As a teammate, Lance, Pierre, and some others here will tell you he was a fantastic teammate. Khadija, you spoke about awards. I get that, right? Because with Gersh, it wasn't a big thing. We get awards, we move on. Whether it's Panthers or Province or South Africa, you move on to the next game. But with Gersh, what I do find is that the differentiator was that when he played with you, you had a fantastic teammate, a fantastic ally. When he played against you, that changed everything, right? And there are a few people in the audience that will know what it's like to play against Gersh, right? We were fortunate. Gersh moved from Cape Town to play in Natal. And in that time, we played the interprovincial tournament. Are we good? You good? Yeah. We'll wait. So, in the time we played against Natal, province played Natal in the interprovincial tournament, I think it was 1998. Gersh played for Natal. So he played against all his teammates, right, from Black Panthers. Most of it was in the provincial team that year. We played them in the round robin of the tournament. Natal beat us 3-1, right, with Gersh. It really added a real pizzazz to that. He would encourage you, he would support you, he would be there for you any other time. For me, Gersh made volleyball very boring and exciting at the same time. He made it boring because he made it look so easy. You know, anything he did, he used to just float through the air, hit the ball, and we'll be done. As part of Panthers, the team was fortunate to be acknowledged as the team of the decade. Gersh played a big role in that, as well as the rest of the team. You know, we are all just thankful to have played. In the past while, we've lost a few of our Panthers folk. We've lost Paul, we've lost Gary, we've lost Gersh. They're all remembered, and they're all liked, all loved, and all cherished for the contribution that they've made. I do want to say that for Gersh, having him on your team is one of the best feelings. He would pump you up, he would push you, he would always drive and push harder and harder and harder. He is going to be sorely missed. He is really appreciated, and just on behalf of Black Panthers, I am honored, privileged to be able to stand here today and just commemorate some of the many, many, many good times we've had. He really is cherished, and Lance Pierre, I speak for all of us, right? He was a fantastic guy. You should be really proud. He is really missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. Interesting, especially for the youngsters that are here, to note that these guys made a decision while they were on school. They made a decision that they're going to represent their country, and they were able to achieve that. I hope that we have youngsters here who have similar dreams of achievements in life. Jerome, your chance, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I guess now the golden oldies are all done, so I'm one of those golden oldies, so excuse me for that one. Khadija, you are so right about Gershon. I mean, when you pick his brain and stuff, what comes out of his brain, I mean, I encountered that a few times already. You ask him a question about something, and what comes out of his head is just different. It's mind-boggling. You think like volleyball is A and B and 1 + 1, but it's not. It's like he takes it to a different level. I mean, it's like it's tactical and technical for him. So, yeah. AB, yeah, he was a naughty guy, but that was in your days. And now he didn't change that much. He was fun-loving. I mean, we had a lot of fun times with him. When he got a bit older, he wasn't so naughty anymore, but it was still a lot of fun times and stuff. It was quite an experience to share that time with him. I have so much memories with this guy. I mean, there's good ones, lots of them, but there's also bad ones. And to be honest with you, the bad ones is what got me the most, because that changed my life. I mean, we would go through things, me and him, and then we'd fix it, and it'd make me a different person, a stronger person, a better person. And then we'll just go on to the next thing and the next thing, and we would never waver from our friendship. We would never, it would just be different as well. But I mean, yeah, so my tribute, just get to that quickly. I never write anything because I always stutter with these things, but today, I think I had to write something down for this guy. Yeah, so the goal is not to live forever. The goal is to create something that will, and that's what Gershon did. He has definitely made his mark on this world and impacted many in different ways. I was fortunate to have shared the court with him. He most certainly had a presence on the court that could not be ignored. Big, bold, and intimidating. In the volleyball community, you would have what one would call godlike status. However, off the court, he was a completely different person. If I think back, really fun to be with, never a dull moment. He was not only a coach, but a mentor who impacted so many young lives, opened doors and unselfishly created opportunities for others. As the national team beach coach, we spent quite a bit of time together. As a commander-in-chief, he commanded our trust by not doing it his way or our way, but rather the best way. He was firm, but not bullheaded, complacent at times, but a desire and strong will to improve. We shared the same vision and had similar goals for volleyball. My last summer with Gershon was the most promising one. I'll surely miss him. Be the things you love most of those who are gone. Thank you. Peter. Peter says 3 minutes, so yeah, minus 3 minutes, so by the way, guys.
Thank you very much, Gershon. Clint, one of the latter partners that Gersh had, Clint had an incident on the court, was rushed to hospital, and from hospital, he rushed to the funeral. He just about made it. But thank you, Clint.
Also my first time doing a tribute, but I think there's the thing about Gersh, he always brings the best out of all of us. Okay, so Gershon Rorich, an elite athlete and an elite coach. I was too young to see him play in his prime, but watching him play in the later stages of his career was still an absolute joy. I've had the privilege of playing with him in the national team. I remember we were preparing for World Championship qualifiers in Cameroon at the 1-month training camp in Durban. And as a young boy in the team, it was just so amazing to just watch him in training. His work ethic was just amazing. He was doing extra workouts just to make sure he's in the best possible shape for this event. But what amazed me the most was his warrior-like attitude in training, as he always strived for perfection and the way he always demanded perfection from his teammates. As a coach, he took charge of a group of guys, 3 in the prime of their volleyball careers, Grant, Freedom and Jerome, and the other one, Leo, with probably the most potential to become the best we've seen in many years at that time. Gershon took Grant, Freedom, Jerome, and Leo to become the #1 team in Africa for a number of years. These 4, under Gershon's leadership, dominated beach volleyball in South Africa and Africa, and some of the standout results were qualification for London Olympics, as well as Rio, but unfortunately the team was not sent to Rio Olympics. Freedom and Grant also won gold at the All-African Games 2011 in Mozambique under the leadership of Gershon Rorich. I later joined this elite group of beach volleyball players, and under the leadership of Gershon, myself and Leo won the bronze medal at the All-African Games 2015 in Congo, Brazzaville. A week before his passing, I visited Mr. Rorich, and we had about a half an hour discussion about his plans for beach volleyball. He was very passionate about the beach court that he was busy building at the sports school, and he had big plans to do a lot of development programs at this facility. I would like to make an appeal to our local union, Cape Town Volleyball Federation, Western Cape Volleyball Association, and Volleyball South Africa to really try and finish this project in his name. Mr. Rorich, thank you for your contribution to volleyball in South Africa, and may your dear soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clint. Also another person who spent quite a lot of time on the sand. So just to recap some of the stuff that we've heard about his determination, we've heard about his special character that he has, we've heard about his passion that he has for the sport, and we've heard about how he could speak for hours. The only other thing, sorry Delisha, but the only other person that he spoke of more was his daughter Lindsay. Because you'd be talking about something and then somehow he would manage to put it in there that, and he wants to do this for her. And I remember the last time, I think it was at Graham's place where we spoke, and I thought, where did that now come from? It wasn't really part of the discussion. But afterwards I thought it just shows where his heart was. That amidst the type of conversations that we had and the depth of it, he was still thinking about his daughter. And that really, it's something that stood by me, especially for parents, because parents are very committed and they get involved with a lot of other things. And in this heated, deep discussion that we were having, he kind of just slips that in. It's another thing to remember him by. So I would like to offer the Western Cape Sports volleyball, Mr. Teladia, who's also been around for a long time, way before unification, who's had many interactions and dealings with Gershon, the opportunity just to speak on behalf of the Western Cape Volleyball Schools and their tribute for him. Gershon was, so remember we had the top, the volleyball body that gave tribute. We had the national body, we have the provincial body, we have the schools. Some people, they only have time for their work, and it's just here, and then see feel their life was full. But they're really just consumed in their little world. And if you look at all the different aspects of people's lives that he changed, then we must continue to fill that bucket with sand. So that when Delisha and his mother and his daughter, when they feel lonely and they feel they don't have that protection and that support, they're able to look at that and they can be comforted of what he put out there. And by this tribute, we hope that you're going to continue to show honor to him for what he's done. It doesn't just stop here. I know from at the funeral, for example, that they set up a trust for his daughter. And I'm going to ask everybody to consider to support that. He gave all of himself for volleyball so that we can enjoy a sport. I think the least that we could do is at least pay back something for it. That's my personal opinion. But I want to encourage you to consider it as well. Because that's how we're going to build the nation. As people sacrifice to make things better for us, we must honor them in return for their sacrifice. Mr. Taladia.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening to everyone. Evening to Mrs. Rorich and his daughter. I've had the privilege of having been involved in volleyball, non-racial volleyball from day one. 43 years of unbroken service to volleyball. And in that time, I've come across a great many people that had passion for this code of sport. And 4 people we've lost that I think contributed greatly to our volleyball. One was Paul Parker, as one of the top administrators that we had. He took us through the unification process. Ismail Collier, one of the stalwarts of the Black Panthers Volleyball Club, but also passionate about volleyball, and probably 2 of the greatest volleyball players that this country has produced in Gosh and Gersh. And I had quite a few dealings with Gershon over the past decade in terms of his passion for volleyball, but also wanting to bring volleyball into the school space. But more importantly, he had a connection with Volleyball South Africa, and he was giving or trying to give direction to take volleyball to a higher level in this country. He had the ear of the president, the late president and the current president. And over the years, we've spoken about introducing beach volleyball into the school space. We got a little bit more serious on that when the 2 of us had a meeting at the Protea Hotel in Johannesburg, at the Wanderers Protea Hotel in Johannesburg in October last year. And we worked on a plan to take volleyball into our schools as a focus. And then in November, with the bringing beach volleyball onto the Grand Parade, again, one of the visions that Gershon had. And he contacted me prior to the tournament saying, Mr. Ladi, I need to have the schools at this particular event. And so we tried to make an arrangement with schools to be there. But just to put the record straight, the first schools championship was between Harold Cressy and South Peninsula. I know Heathfield came later, and so did Livingston, just for the record. And because I was in that first Harold Cressy team that played in this first schools championships in 1979. And we played it at this Presbona Hall. But, you know, having seen these youngsters, I remember Ismail Collier and I, we decided that we had the national schools team, and we were going to fly all the Western Cape or Western Province players to Durban for the national champs with the SASA team at the time. And we had gone to one of the sponsors and we said, listen, we need money because we want to fly these kids. And the guy was a bit argumentative with us, and then the bus stopped. The bus stopped, and a group of Livingston kids got out of the bus, and Gershon was one of them. And I said to this guy, and I pointed at those youngsters, and I said, you see those kids? We will take all those kids and we will boycott your product. And we got a 5,000 rand check 5 minutes later. And I remember we went out and I had a little conversation with Gershon and said, oh, your guys' timing was perfect. So it was the first time that we had flown volleyball players to a national team. To a national tournament. And so that was the kind of sort of groundwork that was done way back. And I want to say that Gershon, Gosh, because I had lots of conversations with him around uplifting schools volleyball and taking schools volleyball to the next level. And so we have a responsibility as a volleyball community to take this process forward. And I'm happy to hear, Shalto, that you're going to have a tournament in honor of Gershon. And let's not forget 1 or 2 of the others that we need to add to that. I think it's important from that beach volleyball event that we had in November. And I I just note Khadija making mention of the phone call. So I got a phone call from Gershon 2 months ago. And he said to me, Mr. Ladia, you're going to get a phone call. So, what for? You know? And he said, Mr. Ladia, I had a chat with the president, and the president asked me, who would you recommend in the volleyball fraternity in the Western Cape to take the process forward? And he said, there's only one person that I can think of, and that's Mr. Taladia. And I was blown away with him having made that statement. And then a couple of days later, I got a call from Anthony McQuena, and he said, we need to get Western Cape volleyball back to where it's supposed to be. And so I've committed myself to that particular process. I want to step out of the sport, but I'm not being allowed to do that. And I want to say, for the legacy that we have from people like Paul Parker, Ismail Collier, Gershon Rorich, Strydom, that we have a responsibility to really take our sport back and put it where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ismail. So we're coming to the latter part of the program, but just before we do, as we've seen that Gershon had a big interest in developing the young people. I think over the last festive season, he had the one day there at Musenberg, and at one point I asked him, do you know what's going on here? There's such a lot of kids, and he's sitting relaxed, and he says, no, I've got this thing figured out. I've been doing this for years. I know what's happening here. So he had a special interest in developing young people. And so we've got a few young people at the back there who we're going to call just to read some of the tributes that was placed out there. So Zoe, Tristan, the Zikufle and the Mitchells Plain crowd, they're going to come forward and to just read some of the tributes that was placed out there. We want to make sure that the family has got enough memories for the life that lays ahead. And at any given time, they'll be able to think back and they'll be able to remember, this is the impact that he had, this is the foundation that he laid, this is what he charted, and we trust that those memories are going to keep you warm and comfort and strengthen you for the way ahead. So if you guys can come now, let's give them a hand. This is our future. This is what we hope and pray and invest our time in. So each one is going to read us just some of the tributes that was placed out there. And then they also just be careful. Okay, let me put it here. All right. Can go ahead.
South African volleyball legend Gershon Rorich sadly passed away today after a long bout of illness. Gershon is regarded by most as the greatest South African volleyball player ever. Gershon's lifelong commitment and dedication to volleyball will never be forgotten. Those who were fortunate to watch him play and to be coached by him will know. From all of us at Quantum, we extend our deepest condolences and best wishes to Gershon's friends and family. Rest in peace, Gershon.
Here we have a tribute from Sunil Dennis. I got to know and work closely with Gershon Rorich 17 years ago when he played a pivotal role in the execution of the FIVB Durban Open 2030 Double Gender World Event. His immense experience on the international volleyball circuit was his great asset in supporting me as the conductor of this international event to conclude the event, even though there were 2 days of provincial raid and in the death of Nelson Mandela and subsequently national mourning. This left us with 2 days to complete the world event, and it was Gershon's picturing and coordination with the Volleyball South Africa PSA team that enabled success. I subsequently
what we as the volleyball fraternity have in these decades of volleyball investment, passion, and so many memories. Thank you for that, Gersh. My engagement with Gersh on the volleyball-related matters at this time was challenging, yet constructive. Through all of it, he never gave up on the game, and he never doubted his passion for the game. He gave his all until he could no more. I feel disappointed deeply that I didn't reach out or knew that he was sick. So that maybe I could have done something to support him. But Gersh is also a very proud person, and that's why most of us didn't know that he was sick and battling for so long. That is the message of death, to remind us how precious life is, and that we must do whatever is necessary so that there will be no regrets. I regret that I didn't know Gersh, but God knows best. Condolences to his family, friends, colleagues, and the volleyball family. And fly high, enjoy the company of many other volleyball angels. Rest in peace, Gershon.
Great welcome. Heartfelt condolences to Gershon's family. May his dear soul rest in peace. It was an honor having him as my doubles tennis partner at Hartfield Tennis Club in early 90s. Eugene Volleyball was established in 2005 under the management of Mr. Anton van Rooyen and his appointed coach, Gershon Rorich. Through Gershon Rorich's hard work and determination, his insight and his ability to produce talented players, the club has become a household brand and is well known throughout the country. Our heartfelt condolences go out to Rorich family on the passing of Coach Gershon Rorich. An unbelievable talent and great coach. Rest easy, Coach Rorich, and thank you for everything you have done.
Today, Gershon, by far one of the greatest players, I have watched him grow from indoor volleyball and in the colors of Panthers to South African beach volleyball star he became. Competing in the Olympic Games, finishing 9th in the world was a feather in his cap.
A tribute from Sebastian Williams. Sad day for volleyball South Africa. Two of our greats is gone to go play this wonderful sport in every place. I will forever remember the days in Gershon just showed up randomly at the Hanover Park Civic Center to lead ball and give us a taste of what it's like to play against the best two volleyball players and height of their volleyball careers. When they came, they always left us was inspired and amazed at their talent. I never knew a volleyball could be that hard until I saw Gershon possible. Their volleyball talent was definitely left an indelible mark on a young life faced with challenges growing up in a place like Hanover Park. Their amazing volleyball skills inspired me to reach for better life beyond the obstacles of growing up in a place like Hanover Park. I will forever be thankful for Bosch and Gersh visiting our Hanover Park Center to come share our volleyball court. Just by doing that back into young lives in our community. So rest well, Gersh. I am sure you and Bosch is teaming up to play aside amongst the stars where we both belong. It was an honor to have seen and watched you play and compete against you. Left side, strong side is the all-time thing.
Okay. So thank you very much. While they are busy, they're also going to change a cable or two here at the back. I don't know if you heard the last tribute of when they used to go during the week to go play in Hanover Park Civic and how that changed that person's life and perspective because they were exposed to that quality of volleyball that Gosh and Gersh brought into a township like Hanover Park. It's something to think about for the current players, the current stars, and the future stars. it's very important when you build a sport, you build a community, where you build a nation, is to build on the ground. Whatever we do in the nice civics and the nice halls that we play, we still need to go down to the ground. We still need to go to the communities. We still need to show them and expose them to the fun, expose them to the discipline, and expose them to some of the realities that you get out of competitive sport. So it's good to be mindful of that. I'm going to hand over to Graham now. Graham is going to speak on behalf of the Christel House Volleyball Club, where he is, or where he was. So this mic is on, and the live stream is on. That's why we are standing here, and hopefully our voices can be heard. While they're busy fixing that, the people on the live stream are still able to listen and hear what we say. Thank you.
And hopefully you can hear me now better. At Christel House, I almost said our credo, we believe, and so and so. I apologize. You know, only after Adrian's death did I have a much closer relationship with Gersh. You know, I was in the Adrian Stradum corner, and if we play against Panthers, and we try our best to beat them. So not everyone could be a teammate of Gersh's. I was always on the opposite side of the net. But I'm so happy to say that Gersh had 2 stints with Christel House Volleyball Club. A while back, he was here with us, and then he moved to UWC, and so on. And I was giving that some thought, and I thought, that is why Gersh couldn't stay with one club. He was needed all over, and he needed to go and help grow wherever he can. And we just, at Christel House, are so happy that he was here with us then, but also that he played his last game for Christel House. I want to talk about 2 matches that I remember. And I just want to say, one of the reasons I think that Gersh came back to Christel House is that we got our best salesperson in the house, and the best salesperson I know, to go and have a word with him. And thank you, Jerome. So we managed to get Gersh to come and play for Christel House. But the 2 matches I want to talk about is the one where we had a Pro-Am event. Now there was one team that had 2 amateurs in that Pro-Am event, and I was teamed up with Shelter. And we play a whole lot of matches, and there was one game there where it was against Gersh. And Shelter and I didn't say much about it, and we saw, hey, Gersh is playing with some foreigner, some German guy. And all of a sudden, after the few losses that we had, we managed to win that game. That is what Gersh gets out of you. And when he was playing for UWC, now UWC always made sure that they come in, when they play Christel House, they come with their best team. And they always want to beat Christel House. And we were 2 sets up, 2-0 up, and looking forward for the win. And in the 3rd set, here Lut brought Gersh on. Now, I was in the middle, playing in the middle. I was way over my prime, but I was playing in the middle, and of course Gersh knew this. And all he did was make me run around and not being able to block on the side. And he changed that game on its head. I remember there in that Weinberg military base hall, Sammy, you know that floor all too well. Not the best of floors. But Gersh came out on his tummy, giving a pancake, ball landing on his hand, ball goes up, point goes on. They win that point. They win the other 2 sets as well. And we lost 3-2. And yeah, so I was always on the opposite side of the net. I know of one game that I beat him. Thank you, Shelter. Indoors, it wasn't easy to beat Black Panthers. It was never easy to beat Gersh, but he always, whether we beat Black Panthers, whether we beat Gersh or not, he still got the best out of us because we always wanted to beat this icon of a volleyball player. And I just want to end off, before I invite some of the cricket, Dudley will come have a word, because I only afterwards, like I told you, we became close after Adrian's passing, knew that he also played cricket. And I know that at St. Augustine's, I'm saying it properly just for the overseas visitors, yeah, he played cricket, and I know that in the third team, the influence he brought there and how he led the young cricketers in that third team as well. So I'm going to ask, Dudley, are you coming to have a word? Thank you, gentlemen. So yes, in closing, I just want to say, on that last Friday, there was a tournament on the 1st of April, and I was thinking, hey, I never had the opportunity to be on the same side of the net as Gersh. I'm going to send him a message, and just maybe we can play a match together on the same side of the net. And that was the Friday before his passing. And there was no reply. And I knew something was up. But it was never to be that we were ever going to be on the same side of the net. May that be as it may be, but it was an honor to know him as a friend and also as a player on the opposite side of the net and as a club member. Thank you so much for sharing him with us, family.
Thank you. Well, I'm not Dudley, but I do represent the St. Augustine's Cricket Club. I am on the outskirts now. I'm life president of the club. So when Gersh decided that he wanted to try his hand at cricket, at the time he joined to play senior cricket, I was the head coach at St. Augustine's, and he played in our second team at the time, and I watched him, and I saw within this, you know, I always said he was a joyous young man, okay? Not so young anymore now when he passed on, but he had this zest for life, enjoyed living, and it's a personification of his excellence, his professionalism, and what he showed in volleyball that he shared with us as cricketers. And, you know, I saw him as an athlete there at St. Augustine's, and he was selected in the first team also. He was selected, he played a good couple of matches in the first team while I was coach, and he showed that, yes, his true excellence was with volleyball, but he could handle himself quite efficiently at cricket. And, you know, we were just very lucky, very happy that we could spend some time with a colossal figure like Gershon. And when I say colossal, I don't mean, I'm not speaking about his image, his size. I'm speaking of his contribution to sport in general, his contribution to volleyball especially, you know, and that was magnanimous in terms of what he contributed. And right to the end, you know, what I will take away from Gersh is the way he played his sport. He was close on 50 and he still played. He played last season. And the way he played his sport was a joy to behold, man. He believed in the fundamentals of sport, of being fit, of training, of practicing. Now he played over 45, and you know the older guys that played in the team, they were all over 50, and they weren't interested in training, but Christel wanted to get them together to play. If you play sport the way it's meant to be. Come and do a bit of training. We don't mean go and run kilometers and stuff, but be there and play it in true spirit. Yes, we mentioned before, he might have been a bit naughty, but I see it, you know, the celebration that he associated with sport. You play a good game of volleyball, cricket, whatever sport it may be, and you enjoy it. And it becomes a celebration. And he was not the type that after a match, he takes his bag and off he goes. No, he wanted to enjoy the entire occasion. And he encouraged people, stay behind, let's have a beer, let's just enjoy, let's spend some time. We played a hard match against that opposition. Let's go and socialize with him. And, you know, as part of his legacy, the way he played sport, and that we will take with us at St. Augustine's, and the contribution he made to our club. Our club was established in 1899 from the pulpit of St. Paul's Church in Cape Town. And to have Gersh as one of our members, the king of volleyball, the king of sand, was just a joyful experience. So I use that word joyful because that is what I see him, the character that was within him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, and to the cricket fraternity. I'm supposed to do some stand-up for a minute or so while Peter's doing his thing behind me. Our next clip will be from Lut Groenewald, who served for many years with Gershon on the VSA executive, and together they've worked hard in volleyball, but also I know they've been close friends for many years as well. So our next clip would be Lut Groenewald.
Cape Town and the broader VSA volleyball fraternity. And good morning, Cape Town. And good morning, Cape Town and the broader VSA volleyball fraternity. Yeah, what can we say? We lost a great friend, father, husband. Yeah, which is very, very sad. All I can say is to our people, let's love the Gershon, the legendary of beach volleyball. He was a very, very good player and a very, very good coach. The day I met Gershon, long time ago, when I was still a player, was when he played for Livingston High School, and I saw this remarkable young boy with very long legs, beating everybody on the volleyball court as a school team. They played in one of the club tournaments, okay, but they said they couldn't beat the likes of Black Panthers and Saints, even Hurricanes. Then, after that, I see him playing in a top 4 tournament for Pirates, and they did very, very well. They even beat Saints at that stage. So Gershon was a very, very great player. After that, we played for Sasa in Worcester, where they also went to the finals against Western Province. But Western Province had the likes of the Black Panthers and the Saints players in the team, where we were a very, very strong team, which he as an individual couldn't beat. And I know he also played with the likes of Pierre Hooft in that Sasa team, that South African schools. Yeah, Chris, we will dearly miss you. As a friend, I saw you almost every day because we stayed very close to each other and we always had volleyball ideas to share of coaching. And we always had our differences in volleyball, but we always made it always right. So yeah, nobody can believe it, not myself. I was at the stage when he passed on. I was in Johannesburg when I got the call to say Gershon just passed on, and I couldn't believe it because he never wanted to say what's wrong with him. He just told me he was a diabetic, and which I will believe till today. But yeah, Gersh, as legend, I think fly high, go play volleyball with your partner, Adrian Costrado, which was one of my friends when we grew up, and just make the most of it to your family.
Okay, I think that's going to stop there anyway. So the final was a tribute from the guys of Gauteng, who also felt they wanted to add value. So the idea behind tonight was to, first of all, to Auntie Jenny, to Delisha, and to Lindsay, to show you that he had made an impact and that we honor that impact that he made. We were blessed to have him in our midst, and there are lots of generations of kids who's going to do well in volleyball because of the initial thrust and the exposure and the sacrifices that guys like him and those who were mentioned had made to pave the way so that we can be at the point where we are today. We are growing volleyball. I think on the last count we had about 37 teams in our federation now. And it's because people had made sacrifices. Yeah? we didn't just overnight start and become and think we know it all. It's people who went to go and play for our country without a flag, who had to go and endure that type of things and lay the foundation and pave the way so that others can follow. And he had a lot of plans, he had a lot of visions, and as Sholto said, there's a motivation to bring that into reality. And we are blessed to have that opportunity to make it happen. Yeah, but in doing that, we want to, just before we close, if there is anybody else who'd like to come to the front and just take some of the sand and put it into the container there, you can do that now, because after that we would like to hand it over to the family. As I said, the symbolism behind it is that he has given much, and we trust that you will get much back from what he has given. There is the little poem of the footprints in the sand on there, and we trust that when you guys feel down and low, that you'll have the opportunity to look at that and be comforted by his achievements. So if there is anybody, you can come now. Let's take this opportunity. Oh, yeah, the youngsters are coming. Thank you. We honor him for what he has done. And we want to create this culture that this is what we're going to do moving forward. We must recognize the people who have sacrificed and has made it possible for us to enjoy the benefits that we do. And in return, we give back when we can. So thank you very much. There are a lot of memories that can be shared. There are a lot of experiences. There are a lot of people whose lives have been touched, both here and abroad. There was testimony of how he impacted and the work that he did to make other countries in Africa a beach volleyball force. And it wasn't just by competing, because he was helping them with the admin, he was helping them to set up tournaments, to understand, to follow procedures. And we want to acknowledge all of this. Somebody from our own soil, from our own communities, from our own streets, our own neighbors, people who grew up, who went to our schools, and has achieved great distinctions on an international platform. I Googled the other day because I tried to find out how many people has actually made it to go and play at the Olympics in volleyball. There was a couple of interesting facts that I think they've got about 8 million people who play volleyball in the States, actively playing volleyball. And they say volleyball is played every day in the States. And I tried to find out, because it is extremely difficult to make it to the Olympics in any sport. And here we have somebody from our own community who made it to the Olympics. And they didn't do too bad. And I think that is extremely awesome. It's something that we as a volleyball community, as a volleyball family, can be proud of. We have a lot of sports in South Africa, and a lot of them don't even make it to the Olympics. They don't even make it out of the All Africa zones. And these are sports that get a lot of funding, a lot of publicity, they've got a lot of infrastructure. We were very blessed to have somebody from our community who was able to reach that heights. God blessed him with his skill, but we also knew it took discipline, it took hard work, it took commitment, and it took him to be surrounded by those who we've heard from today to help him and frame him. There's a saying that a community is responsible for a child. A community develops a child. A community rears a child. And we see that happening in the volleyball community with the likes of Ismail Taladia, Gary Gabriels, Paul Parker, these guys who for the years has been there to shape the next generation. So now we have the Alexanders, the Louis, the mentors, who's got to take up that mantle now and start to shape the next generation. Start to make sure that they are the people there who can help and guide and support. Yeah, even the guys who are on official retirement, they don't have to go play golf every day. They can come and come and help in the volleyball fraternity. We need everybody's skills. We need everybody's input. We need everybody's support. All right, so thank you very much for the gesture. I must reiterate that Gershon had given a lot to volleyball. Yeah, and we know that it took away from his family time as well. As much as it was his passion, it also took away from his family time. It took away from other priorities because he was committed to it. It also limited his ability to generate an income. Because if there was an option and they needed somebody to run a tournament, he would go to run the tournament. So I want everybody here, and even those out on the stream there, to be mindful of that. And if there is any way that we can help, there is a fund that has been opened, a trust fund. The details are available. If you ask Sholto, I'm sure Sholto can liaise with the family, that we can contribute and pay back with what we have been blessed, what we have been exposed to, and what we have learned from, and the little opportunities, that joy and the happiness that we shared on the court with him and on the sand with him, we can give back a little in that way. So I'm going to ask you to consider that. It doesn't have to be much, but we know every little counts. Yeah, every little counts. It's people's investment who has brought me to where I am today. And so it is with everybody else. Other people have invested, and it's good practice for us to give back. So thank you very much for everybody who was part of the program. Thank you for the contributions. We would like to just take a photo op with the family and present that to them. There's some flowers as well. And then Kayla is going to do the thanks, the official thanks. Kayla is over there. And then we've got, thank you also for those who contributed, so that we are able to just have a little drink and something to eat and share some more good memories, some more times. There's a lot of people we haven't seen in a long time, and we're probably not going to see them again in a while. So let's make use of this opportunity to share some very important and catch up. You know, a lot of the memories are good for our souls. So just on behalf of the family, or of the Cape Town Volleyball Federation, we would like to start with a gesture. We would have loved to give you 10 million rand, but we want to start with a gesture in reminding you that he spent a lot of time on the sand and he gave to people there. The sand is a symbol, and a little poem that goes with it, that we would like to give back. And thank you guys for what we were blessed with. Here's a little something to go with that as well. And we trust that moving forward that you won't be forgotten and you won't be far away from the Federation. All right? Kayla, can you just take the picture? Yes.
First of all, I want to thank Peter for making it possible for me to be here tonight. Thank you very, very much for that. And to all those people who knew Gershon, who enjoyed his company, who enjoyed playing with him, whether it was volleyball or cricket. It was great. He was, in my eyes, a great person. I thank God today that God has given him to me for 49 years. We never ever had big arguments. The only argument the two of us had was United and Chelsea. And if United lose, I'm not allowed to talk about it. So I also want to thank my cousin Veronica and her husband Neville for always having been there for Gershon. He always went to them. Shalto, oh, if only you know what you mean to us. You have been a tower of strength. And I can't thank you enough. Felicia, Lindsay, and I can't thank you enough today because you were there for us. Pierre and Gershon were my two sons. You know, when he came back from Saudi Arabia the weekend, he came straight to me after the weekend. Monday he was there by me. And I was so happy to see him. Pierre and Gershon were very, very close. They used to come to Ocean View. Didn't matter how they got there, but they came to Ocean View and they came to visit me. And then also I want to thank my nephew Adrian and his wife for everything they have done. They've taken a lot out of Delisha, Lindsay and my hands. A lot, just about everything. And we thank them today for having done that. We love you, Adrian and Shelley. And last but not least, I want to thank Delisha for having been there till the end. She has been tolerant with him when he had moods, but she's been there, and I thank God that she could do that until the day he closed his eyes. Thank you, Delisha. I love you for this. My granddaughter, Lindsay, really daddy's girl. Same temperament. The very same as her father. And they speak their mind. And that is what it's all about, as far as the two of them were concerned. But people, each and every one of you, thank you, thank you, thank you very, very much. It's going to be a long journey for us, but by the grace of God, we'll get through it. And I thank you all for having been here this evening. Thank you very much. Safe journey home. Be careful on the road. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much, Kayla.
Thank you to Gershon's family for that, thanks. So to make today possible and to honor Gersh in the best way that we know how, I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone for coming out, to honor the life of one of our very own, Gershon Brian Rorich. We are deeply saddened by this loss, but eternally grateful for the legacy that he leaves with us. I'd just like to do a special thanks to FIVB, VSA, Cape Town Volleyball Federation Executive and its affiliates, our President Peter for all the runarounds and making this possible, the caterers that provided the food, Junaid and his team for transporting the kids, for them to be able to be here. As we know, Gershon and development was very important to him. Soundtech and Mr. Williams for allowing us to stream and share this with, share the celebration with the whole volleyball fraternity. Christel House for providing the venue, and then to the entire volleyball family. To Gersh's mom, daughter, family and friends for allowing us to honor his life and contributions to the volleyball family. Gershon was a man of great passion and dedication. He pursued his interests with gusto, always striving to learn more and do better. His love for the game inspired those around him, and his creativity and talent were truly remarkable. He did not withhold his talent for his own glory, but instead he grew others in his ability to develop them beyond himself. We will play the game as he did, with passion, dedication, courage, grit, and a play-to-win spirit. On this Freedom Day, we celebrate not only the reconciliation and freedom of a rainbow nation, but we also recognize a man who stood by the attributes of what we celebrate as a nation today. On behalf of Cape Town Volleyball Federation, we would like to once again thank you so much to each and every one of you. Here today in person, online, I'm sure Gersh has had an impact some way or another in your volleyball journey and even beyond that. And we hope that each and every one of you will continue to keep his legacy alive. Gersh, you'll be deeply missed, but your spirit and memory will live on in our hearts forever. Let us honor his legacy by carrying on his kindness, his compassion, his passion and dedication to making the world a better place, and in our case, through the beautiful game of volleyball. Gersh, I hope you loved the send-off, and from your volleyball family, we thank you, we love you, and we always will remember you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. So people, that's officially our tribute. Thank you very much for those who came. We really do appreciate it. It's a sacrifice, but we know it's a sacrifice worth because of what we received over the years from Gershon in our volleyball fraternity. Thank you for those who made time. Thank you, Tracy, for leading us in that song. And everybody else, we really do appreciate it. Teammates, opponents, friends, old colleagues, the young people that were here. I hope you were inspired. I hope you can see what is possible by somebody who sit in the same benches as you, lived in the same community as you, and yet he rose to the very top. So we hope that we inspired and encouraged you. Thank you for everybody who contributed. Please, there is something to nibble on before you leave. And then take a number of those who you haven't seen in a while. And if you do need any other information with regards to the family, ask Shalto. Shalto can make that available. Thank you to the Cape Town Volleyball Federation executive team and all their support. Thank you to Mark and also to Colby that was here early on. We really do appreciate it. Please be safe, be careful on the roads that you are in. And we hope that we will not be able or have to do something like this again. Yeah, we have a Women's Day coming up, and we are going to celebrate Khadi. We are going to celebrate Ilam. We are going to celebrate Anne Saroki. We are going to celebrate all the other women, and we're going to let them know how much we love and appreciate them now. Yeah, we're going to celebrate. We're going to bring in a culture of celebrating our own people. So be mindful of that. Thank you, everybody, for your support. And we hope and we trust that our volleyball is going to grow in our communities. Thank you very much. Yes, it is load shedding. Be very careful on the roads, everybody, especially outside here as well. Thank you very much. Have a good night.